Hello and welcome to this session. My name is Sneh Wadhwaney and I am from the British School, New Delhi, India. I will tell you a little bit about our journey towards being more internationally minded as a community, and that's the focus of this session today. Just a quick background to why this topic. This was one of our strategic goals in our school, and we were asked to create a definition for international mindedness. We believe that if we want our students to be global citizens with the right intercultural skills, then we need to ensure that our teachers have the skills to plan and deliver learning opportunities which can enhance that same in students. In order to do that, we engaged in a lot of reading and research. And one of the articles that we came across was by Gavin Hornbuckle called The Immersion Assumption. And what he states very in his article is that just because you have multiple nationalities on campus, or you have staff from around the world, or you teach an international curriculum, does not automatically make you internationally minded. International mindedness does not come by default. It has to be by design. It has to be deliberate as an approach, and they have to be nurtured through careful mentoring, through professional learning opportunities, teacher training and development, because they are not developed by default. They have to be carefully embedded. The work I'm sharing with you today is not the work of one person. It is not individual heavy. It is completely based on professional learning community work and collaboration with a number of teachers. This is where we started in our inset last year, and I chose this picture because it represents really well the power of collaboration. When you play to people's strengths, it can really pull a team along, and it can turn definitions into reality. It can turn definitions into ways of living them out so that they're actual strategies that teachers feel empowered and enabled to use in their own classrooms. What we did was we divided our group into 4 key areas for this particular year because we wanted to stay focused. And these were the 4 key broader picture subtopics that we chose. And each one was led by a teacher who was strong in this area. And we had a small team that went with each of these. And they've been working hard on developing all of these activities with staff as well. We looked very carefully at the cultural iceberg and evaluated the activities we do in our school or the events that we carry out in our school against the cultural iceberg. You may be familiar with the cultural iceberg, but the whole understanding of this is that we need to move beyond the tip, move beyond the 6 Fs, and move more towards the invisible aspects of exploring culture, which actually help develop global citizenship ideas and attributes. We unpacked this cultural iceberg in our inset, broke it apart, and I think that was the really powerful CPD that staff were able to gain from, because when you collaborate and you unpack and you put things back together, that's when learning happens. The understanding of how we need to start looking at things with greater depth and not just at surface level. I'm going to now share a few activities that we've undertaken this year in school that have helped embed intercultural competencies within staff and the school community. I'm going to start quickly by sharing a little story about my name, and then I want us to think about how this activity supports the development of intercultural understanding. So my name is Sneh, and it's of Sanskrit origin. My parents chose this name because their family friends who were gynecologists, and the one who actually delivered me, her name was Sneh. And my mother thought that if they have a daughter, they will be naming her Sneh. And that is how I got my name. Now, think about why that story is significant in terms of culture, in terms of any historical or social significance. Does it tell you a little bit about the values or traditions of something about hopes or dreams, about my family, about my identity? Or if it signals some sense of connection or belonging? What Michael Stanier says is that we have to remember that we need to be curious a little bit longer, And I think what this activity does is enables teachers and students to find out more, a great way to get to know your students, get to know and acknowledge and celebrate their cultural and linguistic histories. So we also read this book called Chrysanthemum, which helped us to understand the whole idea of my name, my identity. Another great influence on our work has come from Chimamanda Adichie. She talks about the danger of the single story and suggests that we need to consume a broader range of stories about cultures, look at indigenous authors, and not allow ourselves to be influenced by that stereotype. And I quote her, she says, "The single story creates stereotypes, and the problem with stereotypes is not that they are untrue, but they are incomplete. They make one story become the only story." In order to make this come alive in our schools, we've looked at high quality texts, we've looked at stories and reading materials, and looked at whether they allow us to go beyond the single story. We've actually gotten rid of texts that were not giving us those multiple perspectives. And Philippa Cordingley states that critiquing text collaboratively is a fantastic, powerful CPD opportunity. Going to move on to other activities that teachers do in classes. For example, here they looked at coconuts while they were learning about plants. And what a great way to explore how coconuts are used in your home. It helps children identify commonalities and also explore those unique features about their own culture that they should be so proud of and that we value. Another one here was when they were learning about seasides, and instead of exploring one country and seasides from with one country to another, they asked students to bring pictures of seaside holidays in their own countries. And again, great opportunity to explore similarities, differences. How are seasides different in Saudi Arabia to Australia? And great insights came out because of these kinds of activities. There are a range of books that one can explore as a class. And what is more powerful is that the curriculum is not limiting. It allows us to choose the approaches we want to take in order to achieve those end of year expectations. It gives us freedom, and we really value that freedom because it's allowed us to explore different ways in which we can achieve end of year expectations for our students, as long as the skills are being met. Something else that we've learned over the period of time is that it's so important as teachers to be courageous. In my class, we explored this book called The Colors of Us, and children got a chance to mix paint and represent the color that they think they are. And it was great because it brought out difficult conversations that sometimes we feel hesitant to engage in, but it's essential as teachers because Zaretta Hammond, those of you may have heard of her, said that we get socialized into implicit bias, and often we limit others because of the implicit bias inherent in our own selves because of our communities. And it's essential to support students to be more curious, to ask questions, and to leverage their funds of knowledge. Transition education, another huge one for us as a school. And we support this a lot by getting children to engage in bringing objects that are sacred to them, making sure all children have buddies. We sing songs as welcome rituals, and we celebrate their linguistic and cultural history by inviting parents for different activities. I'm going to move on quickly because I know I'm running out of time, but global citizenship has been another really big one for us. And what we adapted to was the global goals for sustainable development, but we moved ahead of that and ensured that each of these was embedded in our units of work. So our units of work are not just looking at plants, but they're also linking up with life on land and deforestation or life underwater and so on and so forth. We've got monthly sustainable challenges, which you can see here. Each month, the community gets involved with all of these. And for example, we've got Bring Your Own Bottle January, and it was great because the entire community supported this by using less paper cups. And we have student reflections here on why this was essential and how this helped in decreasing the amount of paper cups used. We have one of our teachers here showing children how to turn old t-shirts into bags. Currently, our monthly sustainable challenge for the community is to have bucket baths or have a bath in less than 5 minutes to save and conserve water. So if I can put this into a nutshell, is that through properly planned activities, we have been able to see the impact of the definition and the understanding of that definition in how learning opportunities are created to ensure that these things are happening every day in our lessons and not the events that make this happen. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with me. I would love to share more work. This was just a quick, brief description of a few things that we've been doing in our school. Thank you very much for listening. And thank you again for giving me this fantastic privilege.